create systematic environments that foster deeper learning, we need to bring leaders together to think about how are we leading for learning. And that really was the birth of Deeper Learning New York, Leading for Deeper Learning.
You have a job, you have a role, like a teacher, a leader, you run an after-school program, you work with adult career education, you work with special education. All of those things are mere tasks. Before you can do those tasks to really maximize possibility, you first have to identify what your personal moonshots are. Who am I as an educator going to be in the world beyond the radical imagination of what role I have? If you can't do that first, you can't even talk about teaching. Why? Because an educator who's not yet imagined themselves to be something beyond what a job has told them to be cannot step in front of young folks and expect them to do the same.
In about September or October of this past school year, my school district and other school districts in Vermont started to roll out this active shooter drill procedure called Run, Hide, Fight as a person with a disability, because I move a little differently and can't move as fast, and was curious about how that protocol would change for me. So I asked, what's the protocol for people like me? And the response that I got was basically, oh shoot, we don't have one in place yet. If they had asked for student input when they were starting to roll it out, it could have been a very different conversation.
Our intent in Deeper Learning is to model our sessions, what we call our deep dive, full day immersions, and begin to connect and build coalitions about how we're going to do this work to move it forward.
It's important that we start to look at what's really, really important for kids to experience, and that's going to be the love of learning.
The outcomes we were looking for were really around three things that I was charged with by her and her leadership at the superintendent level. Number one was these three pillars that she was trying to instill: equity, empowerment, and engagement.
The professional development plan was designed intentionally to engage our adults, because when adults are healthy and learning, so are the students.
The enemy of the best is the good. I remember seeing that on a bulletin board in a school with the STAR students on it, and I actually had a visceral reaction when I walked past it, because we tend to say, oh, that was really good work, Mike, or you did really good. So what is that saying when we put this quote up and put the STAR student around it, but that in class we're saying that was good?
We talked about it in one of the sessions yesterday, is basically going back and having shared agreements with students. What that means is oftentimes you walk into the classroom, you see the expectations, the rules, and responsibilities, but I really want to go back next year and have the teachers cultivate community. So create those shared agreements amongst the teachers and the students.
As educational leaders, we need to constantly be learning, and we can only support our students if we're showing them what learners do and modeling that for them.
There's something powerful in that activity to look at your strengths and your weaknesses and then develop a plan for yourself to develop those things you might be weak on, or to start to imagine the things you're good at and how that might apply to your life and start to develop a plan for the future.
You can't think of yourself as just the educator, just the teacher, just the administrator. You have to think of yourself beyond that. You know, young people are inspired by people who are inspired to do big things. So if we look at ourselves as just educators, we are limited ourselves, and ultimately we are limiting it to young people.
We've been taught for many generations that schools need to look a certain way. So this conference is allowing us to explore different ideas and think about how we could teach our students differently, and what does that look like? What is the model, and how should we be changing and developing with our students?
Deeper learning is an exploration of self It's relationships and connections, and it's a commitment to build coalitions to continue to shift schools out of an outdated model and into systems that will begin to prepare our students to be the architects of their future.